How to build resilience. Welcome to the Voices of Victory. I am Mario Leone. Thank you for joining me on this magic carpet ride. Today's episode is really straightforward and simple. How to build resilience, to become more of a resilient person. You're going to want to stay tuned all the way through this entire episode. And most of all, you're going to really want to, if you want to become more resilient. Let's break it down. Resilience is broken up into 6 pieces. And then, of course, 6 things. So the first component of building resilience is stress management, bouncing back from setbacks, building mental strength, strengthening our connections with other people, and, of course, maintaining our energy, and, of course, becoming adaptable. Let's start with the very first one, which is really just managing stress. Like, how do I manage stress? I think what is important is establishing boundaries with people because of the fact that people will cross that boundary and that will stress you out. Learning a form of breath work is also going to be the best stress management tool you ever learn. I don't care if it's Wim Hof or pranayama. I don't give a rat's ass. Some kind of breathwork technique is indeed going to change your brain. It is going to support your brain and it's going to allow you to manage stress in a very solid way. When you are recovering, you have to recover. And when it comes down to exercise and stress, you have to schedule some recovery time. And that recovery time should not be confused with escapism, unhealthy escapism, which, by the way, I've seen a lot of people be like, oh, I just wanted downtime. One of my coaching clients, I want to take, today off for downtime. I just want to do downtime today. And okay, what did you do? What did you do all day? Oh, I was just kind of scrolling on my phone for about 6 hours. Okay, that's not recovery. You may think it's physical recovery, but it's not mental recovery. Let's understand that. Now, to manage stress further, it is important for you to learn how to identify those little tiny triggers that kick your stress off very early. And how do you do that? Through journaling. Having some journaling prompts that help you identify. And that's a great way to do it. If you can't do it that way, dialogue with another person and make sure the person that you're asking and dialoguing with has your best interest. So those are the things in terms of managing the stress, which, by the way, is relative to building resilience. But how do we bounce back from setbacks? Well, our relationship with failures, our relationship with mistakes is going to make a major difference. Bouncing back from setbacks is part of resilience, and we have to look at our failures, and we have to reframe our failures. We have to change what our failures mean to us, and we have to look at it as not just a learning concept. Like most people say, oh, those are lessons. I can't stand that word because it takes away from the principle and idea that they are really insights. They're not lessons. They're insights. They can be taken positively or negatively. And those insights become wins. You learn to win in certain situations. So instead of treating it as a lesson, look at it as an insight. Okay, you made a mistake. You missed the basket. Didn't hit the basket. You didn't get the ball in. Okay, what body mechanics do you have to focus on to do it? Do you have to move a little closer, a foot and a half closer, a foot and a half back? What is it that you got to do? Start looking at the mechanics. That's important. The mechanics. Sport, the mechanics. If it's the art, mechanics. The mechanics of art. Now, outside of that, you're going to have certain things you focus on, and there'll be certain things you control, and there's going to be certain things you can't control. Focus on what you can control. 2 things you want to focus on. Focus on what you can control, and focus on what you can influence. Because there are situations where you have the power of influence, and you yourself may never had understood that principle or idea that you have the power to influence. Some people think they have no influence. Me? I'm saying that to them. I can. Yeah, you can. You can do that. Focus on what you can control and what you can. When you are recovering, break the recovery into small steps. Everything from an Epsom salt bath for your doctor and health practitioner, and everything to how long you're recovering for, and maybe recover at different times. Recover and recover smart. Now, when it comes to setbacks, sometimes it is important for you support from other people. I don't care if you have to get a counselor, psychiatrist, psychologist, or a friend. Someone that is going to help you provide you with, so seek support from other people. And if you don't count your wins don't count. So make sure you are celebrating your small wins. And if you throw your wins in the trash, and that's a lot of people do that, by the way, throw their wins in the trash. You know why they throw their wins in the trash? Let me tell you exactly fucking why. People will have a win and they'll treat it like garbage. And you know why? Because they compare their wins to other people, not realizing that your journey is not their fucking journey and their fucking journey. That's how I'm putting it down. That's how I'm being very real with you. You have to look at your wins. Their journey is not yours. Stop comparing your wins to other people's, because that is the mother of all fuck-ups right there. Please avoid that. If you care about developing actual true confidence, stop comparing your small wins to other people. Stop minimizing your small wins, because it's several small wins and they get bigger and bigger and bigger, and those wins come from actions. And those wins become proof and evidence. So you are throwing away your evidence, you are throwing away your proof, and you know what? That is not going to help you. That is going to do more harm than... That's what I'm going to tell you. I'll be nice about it on that one. Now here's the deal. Let's go further with this. What about mental strength? What about mental strength? Because, at the end of the day, you're doing a workout. You might say, oh, Mario, but I'm doing planks. I'm doing workouts. And I don't know. I just have these negative thoughts. Okay, well, we have to build mental strength. And we have to challenge them on paper. What's another way to look at... Is that a useful thought? That's another thing. Very solid question. We have to develop a growth-based mindset, not a fixed-based mindset. You are not fixed, finished, complete, or done. Just because you've reached a certain plateau in life doesn't constitute there's more to go. There's plenty more to go. You have to develop a growth-based mindset, and if that growth-based mindset means starting to look a little bit bigger at the grand picture, then growth-based mindset, how can I learn from this? What value is here that can help me grow? That is the... Now, mental strength is also relative to self-compassion. Self-compassion is the opposite, in my opinion, the opposite of self-judgment, self-criticism. Compassion is looking at yourself as you are a human being, you are making an effort, and you are human, and you are not perfect, you are not a machine. And you are human, and you should care about yourself. Consider self-compassion to be almost a form of self-care, but more from a mental. Now, when you are setting goals, it is good to set SMART goals, smart, realistic goals. And the very first letter in SMART is specific. The hard part is some people don't know how to get very specific. So you may want to take a step back and look at your goals, be very specific about them, be granular. And if you have to ask a second person, please do. You're going to have hard times in life, and you're going to have to keep your mental strength, and that means keeping your perspective. What's another way to look at this? Be objective. What is another way to see this? Is there another point of view with this? Very important. Now, when we look at staying adaptable, that's the next form of resilience. When you want to stay adaptable, you have to be able to embrace change. If you're these type of people out there who say, I hate change, I don't like change, then that change, when that change comes, it's not going to be a small change, it's going to be a huge, your emotional. In other words, what I'm basically trying to say is the small changes will start appearing bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger because your emotional resistance is much bigger. You could say that your emotional resistance to change will magnify the change. It'll make it feel harder than it actually. Let me say that again. It'll make it feel perceptual harder than it. So embrace change as a form of growth and a form of opportunity. If there's pain in that change, pain can be valuable depending on how you look at it. And that's the thing, is some points of pain that some people don't know how to understand. So it really depends. We're not talking about physical pain or somebody dying or something like that. We're talking about pain can bring growth, and it can be uncomfortable, and there may be some value inside of that, and you might have to go a little deeper. Staying adaptable also means learning new skills. Now, you don't have to go out and take like 20 courses, because some people, but you can isolate one thing and just... Isolation is powerful. Like in my martial arts training, when we isolate one technique, just one front kick, and we just isolate that one front kick and we do variations 20 or 30 times in isolation. Then what happens is we become adaptable with that kick. That's the fun part about it. So learn those new skills regularly. Stay curious. Curious is more supportive than judgmental. Remember that. It's much more supportive than judgmental. And it is a part of being adaptable. And rigid expectations are an issue for some people, and rigid trees break in the wind. I always say that. A rigid tree will break in the... Maybe under a hurricane it will bend really hard, but it may bounce back as a result. But rigid trees, rigid beliefs, rigid ideas are really going to be those very things that hold you back. They're not creating the resilience and flexibility that you need. And when you are curious, that can lead you over to experimentation. Experiment without hard judgment and understand the different. Now, when it comes to your energy, you have to be able to maintain your energy. And that means take a look at your sleep. If you're doom scrolling till 3 o'clock in the morning, something has got to change. Prioritize your sleep quality. Your sleep deserves a schedule. The quality of your sleep at night will determine the quality of your focus and stress during the day. Most people take for granted. Prioritize the quality of your sleep because the 100% quality you get at night will give you 100% focus. When you are exercising, any form of exercise is going to make you more resilient. Move your body every day. Find what you like. Okay, you don't like martial arts? Awesome, tennis. Okay, you don't like tennis? Okay, skateboarding. Okay, I don't like skateboarding. Okay, hiking. Move your body daily. Find what you like. If other people don't like it, who gives a flying fuck? That's how I'm putting that down. Now, when it comes down to food, it's not just eating. You know, of course, you want to eat. You want to eat food, but eat for sustainable energy, longevity. If you think of food, food contains information. So information could be considered nutrition. And as you know, there's good nutrition and there's poor nutrition. So when you're eating for sustained energy, you want to look at the foods that have information in them that give you long-term longevity, sustainability. And when you are working out and exercising, take breaks. Take a break. Don't break too long. Set a timer. A timer, the whole point of a timer is not to cause anxiety. It's to give you a sense of urgency that you need to move and go forward. And that's important. And even with like the Pomodoro technique, I use the Pomodoro technique all the time. And the Pomodoro technique has changed my life. I'm Italian. Pomodoro's an Italian concept. Comes from Italy. That being said, it works. People don't like the tick, 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 tick because it causes anxiety to people. I'm here to tell you, do it anyway. You're treating maybe that timer as overly important. You're not developing patience with yourself. So take real breaks and use the Pomodoro technique to be more productive. Now, when you are dealing with boundaries, we talked about boundaries in terms of managing stress, but we want to talk about boundaries in terms of protecting your time for the activity and joy. So it's not always boundaries with other people, it's having boundaries with yourself. Having boundaries with yourself is protecting your time from low priority things and looking at the high priority things, such as exercise or learning or growth related. And the last component of this whole thing, and then we're done with this episode, is how do I strengthen my connection with people in terms of resilience? Because yes, relationships have an impact on resilience. Well, don't be afraid to reach out to people on a regular basis. That might be easy for some people, be hard for others. Be vulnerable. A lot of people don't like vulnerability, nor do they really understand what the word vulnerability actually is. Now, it doesn't mean that your vulnerability can't be calculated. I think that's a big concern for people. They say, oh, should I be vulnerable with everyone? You don't have to be vulnerable with everyone. You know, you're going to be vulnerable with trusted, or you could say people that you're developing trust with, and people will offer up their vulnerability along the way. And when you offer help to other people, that also trains your resilience as well, because that means maybe supporting them. In other words, they may be dealing with a problem is 100% overwhelming. And when you step in and take that 30%, you teach them to develop resilience, and you've taken a small dose of the problem to train your own resilience. Think of it that way. And that's important. Express your gratitude. If you don't count your gratitude doesn't count. And the way you count your gratitude is look at the tiny, smallest things that impact your life in the biggest way. So if you're a writer, that pen in your hand could create a book or has created a book. And that means that pen is not bullshit. It's a small, important item that allows you to do the very thing you love. So express that gratitude and join some communities with other people that are learning to build their resilience. Have a great day. Hope you enjoyed this episode. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share. Check out my YouTube. Okay, I just finished a wonderful episode with Philip Desac, the fight choreographer. He did Pirates of the Caribbean. He did a pre-visual combat. He worked on several films in Hollywood. It's a great episode. I released an audio version on Podbean, but feel free to join my YouTube as well. I want to share with you that community is growing, and I'm here to make a difference. I don't care to be an influencer. I don't care. I'm here to make an impact. If I can make an impact on one single fucking person's life, just one person, if I'm able to make that one impact, then I would have done my job. Simple as that. It's really that easy. And I could walk away confidently knowing that I made an impact in your life. Have a great day. Take care. See you in the next one.